Welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage. Thank you for taking time to watch. We are fashionably late as usual. It's amazing how many things can go wrong when you're doing a tiny little podcast that doesn't even have 1,000 subscribers yet, and all these little things can go wrong. But you can help us get to 1,000 subscribers if you will hit that like and subscribe button. We have slowly been adding 3 or 4 or 5 new subscribers a week. And there is at least 200 of you watching on a weekly basis that haven't subscribed. So just hit the subscribe button. Even if you're a Michigan fan, you say, well, I don't want to listen to all the Ohio State stuff. Help us out. Hit that subscribe button because you know you're going to listen to us a couple of times a year anyway. So you might as well be aware of every time we go live. We got all kinds of things to talk about tonight. We got the Buckeye game against Purdue. It was a little bit sloppy. Wasn't their best performance of the year. Maybe they got their sloppy one out of the way. We've got a little recruiting stuff to talk about. We've got some Big Ten business issues we're going to discuss. Some of you probably are not even aware that this thing is going on. And so, if the view is strange on YouTube, bear with us because there's all kinds of weird things going on with our back studio right now. I logged in and everything was different. And so I don't have time to, I didn't have time to look at it. I didn't know that they had changed everything. So we apologize for that. If the view's different, we'll get it squared around eventually. Probably not this episode because we're going to be busy talking here. But we'll get it squared around as soon as we can. Super chats are back up. If you want your comment read for sure, please go ahead and leave a super chat. Thank you, those of you that have. And before we get off here, before we really get going here in just a minute, I'm going to get the Scarlet and Rage message board up. A lot of new activity on that. Plenty of people joining and signing up. Very easy to sign up. Free. Can discuss all kinds of different things. I got on there this weekend a little bit and discussed recruiting. I'll get that link up for you here momentarily. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on X, The Scarlet and Rage Podcast. All right. Let's get going on, where we're headed tonight, Jay. Go ahead. How do you want to open up here?
Man, a lot of different ways to open up, Michael. The message board, I know you mentioned that it is absolutely popping off. Seems like there was like another message board. I wouldn't call it a rival board. I didn't know it ever existed. I never posted there. It's just something that was in existence, unaware to me when we created our message board. And I guess the guy ruled that message board and became like a crazy drug addict, alcoholic. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know. But I can say that people were unhappy the last couple of years, getting banned, overly moderated, and all of that stuff. So because of that, it looks like my camera went out. I'm having technical issues now. I am sorry for that. That being said, all of them have migrated over to us, though. All of them have migrated over to us, which is great. It's just popping off over there, man. It is just absolutely popping off, and great stuff. I guess we should start with, outside of that, the Purdue game. And Michael, man, once again, this is okay, let's see if this works. I don't know what's going on. This is the same thing that happened last time. A very meh performance, right? Mm-hmm. Just the team didn't seem interested I don't know if they were disinterested, but the coach's play calling wasn't much of a reason for them to be excited. And I apologize again for the mic issues. I might have to leave out Michael and join back in if that's all right. But you're
sounding good on my end. We're having a little bit of a delay issue going on tonight. I don't know what's going on with that. Of course, we're having some video issues on your side, but
I don't know, man. It seems like my injury has just completely reset our freaking podcast, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
it's
While you're going, I'll interact with the chat here a minute while you're getting that back up.
I tell you what, I'm going to leave out and come back in. All right.
All right. Slip and Skippy, Ohio State's men's basketball is concerning. Ooh, haven't even gotten there yet. In the sense of I don't know what's going on. Did they lose big or stick it in the chat there, Slipping, what's going on with the basketball team? I haven't even shifted gears toward basketball. Well, I hardly ever do. This James W. This scheme by the OSU offense, slow, plotting, huddling, looking chunky, 90%, running 90% on first down, is not what won us the national championship. It's what get us beat by UM. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're choosing to go that route. It is a gripe of mine. Some people would say, well, just shut up, Michael. The team's great. The team's doing great. The team's doing amazing. They've looked good, and they have looked really good, and they are doing great. But they've not played a tough schedule. And so I have to be objective about that, is we haven't played a great schedule this year. We've played one of the worst schedules we've played in recent years. We've definitely had a tendency to get some weak schedules here and there, especially years that the Big Ten may be down a little bit. But this is a weak schedule. And so we don't know really how battle-tested this team is. I think that they're pretty solid. I think they're good to go. But we want to see this team maximized. And this isn't maximizing this offense. I don't know. I'm glad to see Jeremiah Smith get going some this weekend, but it just seems like this the slow plotting goes back to what we talked about last week. Is Ryan Day's really stuck on this load management type of thing of only having 60 low 60 plays in a game? Obviously, if they speed it up more, they're going to easily potentially get to 66, 67, 68, 69. He doesn't want to do that. He is absolutely against that. And so he's slowing it down. He's leaning on the defense, which, you can do when you play Purdue. You can do that when you play Minnesota. You can do that when you play a beleaguered Penn State team. But can you do that in Ann Arbor against Michigan? Can you do that in Indianapolis against Indiana if you beat Michigan? Can you do that in the playoffs? And I don't believe for a minute that, we saw a lot of this last year during the season, and then we saw a very different playoff. I don't believe that was a plan. I think that was, a function of losing the Michigan game and Chip Kelly, coming up with some ideas of his own, some concepts maybe that he had wanted to run more during the season that he did, wasn't enabled to for whatever reason, or I don't know, maybe he just didn't. But I don't think that was a function of they just decided they were going to save all of this for the playoffs. No, I don't believe that at all. So I'm not expecting that this year. So that's kind of my concern, Rage. I was just laying out, my issues. I'm not concerned about the team. I'm not. But of the concerns I have, the offensive team really is one of them. I'm hoping that there's something hidden in the pockets. I'm hoping that there's something up the sleeve, but I'm not optimistic that there is.
People bash me, especially on internet message boards, because of, the standard that I hold the team to. Mm-hmm. And the easiest way to explain myself is I always look at Ohio State through a lens live, and it looks like my camera is messing up again. I don't know that we're going to fix it this episode. I'm just going to go off camera for the remainder, and I'm sorry about that, everyone. I know everyone appreciates seeing me. But the lens I look at this team through is this performance good enough to beat Michigan? Is this performance good enough to beat the SEC trio of Georgia, Alabama, and Texas A&M? And if the answer is no, then I'm going to be upset. Of course I am going to be upset if that is the case. And Michael, just directly, that was a piss poor performance against the Boilermakers. The team is playing with absolutely zero pace. This is what frustrates the hell out of me. Ryan could push the pedal to the metal and get out to big leads against these shit teams like Purdue, but he doesn't unless he's like at home, it seems like, and then rest the starters. He doesn't do that, and these guys are forced to go deep into fourth quarters, risking injuries. Like last week, prior against Penn State, 2 linemen going down. Michael, offensively, this was some of the worst play calling I've seen all season, especially with the drive that, ended up in an interception in the end zone. Let's not forget Notre Dame that, they put up 56 points on these fucking scrubs. That's the massive danger, playing so slow and without like any kind of pace, because it really leaves zero margin for error, Michael. If you go all the way down the field, you've basically wasted 7 minutes of the game. You don't score, and now it's still kind of a close game, whereas you could have scored in like 2 plays and really put the pressure on. I thought Julian Sand had an off day. He should have had a touchdown to Max Clare in the end zone.
And Mylan Graham dropped one on him as well.
Mylan Graham did not help him, but I feel like that's been overly offset because Julian Sand has arguably the 2 best wide receivers in the country that have bailed him out at times, and that's why I'm kind of not sold overly on Julian Sand. He has warmed on me. I think he's a good quarterback. He definitely passes better than Will Howard, but he really can't run at all because on the interception, Michael, if you pay close attention, he kind of rolled to the right, but he didn't really force the issue against the Purdue defense. Like I believe a quarterback like Ty Simpson, he either takes off and runs and scores a touchdown, or he runs fast and twitchy enough that Purdue has his respect, that opens up somebody in the end zone. And Julian, he does not have that in his repertoire, and that's why I continue to say Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in the country to me. I know a lot of people complain about the block in the back on the long touchdown run by Bo Jackson. That was the right call. I saw an angle from behind the play, and Jeremiah Smith absolutely did push the guy in the back. Bo Jackson picks up 8-9 yards on that carry if Jeremiah Smith doesn't block him in the back. Kind of like what they did the entire game. They didn't really have a problem running the ball, honestly, in this game. I think the running game was fine, but it wasn't like explosive. So let's not fool ourselves in thinking like that, that was a bad call. No, that was the right call. It was absolutely the right call. And Michael, and one last thing I'll say about the offense, Ryan Day, he talks a big game, like he's saving something and we're going to turn it up, when we need to. But until I see it, the pace and play calling, I believe, is going to mimic what we saw yesterday against Purdue on November 29th against Michigan. Be prepared, everybody. It's coming.
Well,
I know that's a pessimistic take, but I have no reason to think otherwise.
All right. Well, first, let me think about Julian Sand. I think that, we should keep in perspective that when we are saying, well, he didn't play very good. Now, I mean, he didn't by his standard that, that he has set. But I think that shows how good he has been because he completed 81% of his passes. And, he threw a touchdown, which is uncharacteristic. But hey, I would rather that happen and him learn from that mistake against Purdue than against Ann Arbor or against Indiana or somewhere in the playoffs. So, no big deal on that. I love Julian Sand. I think he is, I think this time next year, he's going to be getting ready to be a first round pick, a top 10 pick in the draft. Where? I don't know. Is he completely ideal size? No, but that doesn't matter anymore. The NFL is so desperate for quarterbacks. Size doesn't matter anymore. Kyler Murray's gone in the recent years at 5'10". Hasn't worked out very well. But Baker Mayfield, 6 foot. There have been a lot of 5'11 and a half to 6'1 and a half quarterbacks that have gone in the first round the last, 10 years or so. And it's getting the guy from Alabama. What's his name? Help me, Rage.
Yeah, the Panthers quarterback.
Yeah. Number one pick overall.
Bryce Young.
Yeah. Number one pick overall, barely
Right.
6 feet tall. Julian Sane will go in the first round because the NFL is desperate for quarterbacks. Now, how will he be in the NFL? I don't know, but I believe that we have a great one as far as college is concerned. The positive side I would have to going into Ann Arbor with a similar game plan than, as we had last year is if you want to kind of play that style, that's one thing. If you want to call that exact game plan, then I mean, my gosh, like surely you're not going to do that. Because if you want to do something similar, but yet open it up some.
Man, we said the same thing last year, Michael, going into the game, and what happened?
Well, I know, but I mean, last year was epically bad. I mean, last year was far worse than 2023 when we scored 24 points against a really stellar Michigan defense. So I mean, last year was like just unbelievably, absurdly bad. And so I believe if you put up 21 to 24 points against, I believe if you put up 24 points against Michigan, I believe your odds of winning the game are about 90 to 95% with this defense. If you can put up 27 to 30, you're going to win the game. And surely if he wants to run the ball, and plod and do that kind of stuff, surely he's going to take some shots downfield. And that's what was missing in the 2024 version. And some people say that, that he didn't have faith in Will Howard because Will Howard had just gotten addled with the concussion. I don't know. Those are the things that you and I don't know, Rage. I mean, we unless it leaks out or something.
Nobody really knows.
We don't know those things. But what we do know is that they didn't pass the ball last year. Kyle McCord did throw the ball, the previous year. It was, we know how the offense was in 2023. It looked kind of like it has as far as scheme and play calling. It looks kind of like it has this year. Now, obviously, the common theme there is Brian Hartline, which incidentally does not look like he's going to be getting the Penn State job. I never thought he was going to get the Penn State job. I mean, I guess possibly he still could, but I hope
they make a good hire there. And yeah, but Hartline, I mean, Penn State, I don't know what Penn State's reasoning was to interview him. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, look, hey, everybody's looking, and that's the thing. We're not really in a time of proven commodities that you can really just go out and be like, if we get this guy, like we got a real chance to win a national championship. Those guys don't exist right now. I mean,
I would say Mike Elko does.
Who?
Mike Elko from Texas A&M. They're interviewing him, or they're trying to get him. I don't know what the truth is, but they're trying to get him.
Yeah.
Same with Kalen DeBoer. They're trying to get him too.
I mean, those are probably two of the better options. If I'm Kalen DeBoer, I might seriously consider going to Penn State. Because no, I'm serious, because he would be I'll tell you why. He would be a better cultural fit. And he would have infinitely more patience at Penn State than he's going to get there at Alabama. And there's nothing he can do to make anybody happy in Alabama. He's following a guy that just won 6 national championships in, I don't know, 17 or 18 years, something like that. Like every third year, this guy's winning a national championship. If Kalen DeBoer stayed there 11 years and won 1 national championship, a lot of his time would be getting an earful of how inadequate he is as a coach. Why deal with that? I get it. He had to take the big contract from Washington. All the money was on the table. You can't leave that. But if Penn State really wants to pay that buyout, which has to be pretty significant, and they want to give him, a big deal to come up there and, see if he can take Penn State to the next level, get them to a national championship the way that he did, Washington. I think it would be a good move, or at least I think it would be a warranted move that I could understand. He'll have to decide, obviously, if he really is interested in leaving Alabama and the SEC and the championships that are recent, to go to a much, much lesser program, speaking over the last 15 or 20 years, but it could make his life a lot easier. And it's not impossible to win a national championship in Happy Valley. And if you do, they will love you forever. Win one in Alabama and go 8-4 the next year, and they're ready for you to be gone.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I can't disagree with anything you said. The expectations that Alabama mimic Ohio State, and it's just the way it is. And I respect them for that. They are a traditional blue blood, one of the top 3-4 programs in the country. So, Penn State is not. I think they're a top 10, 12 program of all time. I would not call them a blue blood. James W., thank you for the 199.
Yep.
So I guess I'll just thank you, sir. Just letting everyone know, if you do send a super chat, we are obligated to read off whatever question, comment you have. But so I'll just read off a couple by James W. This team needs to run to set up the pass, not vice versa.
Pass to set up the run.
I think that's what he meant. And Heartline running 90% on first down. Yes, I agree. That is all very, very frustrating. Now, James W. is of the belief that we need to lose a game to, kick it into high gear. I hope that's not the case, Michael. I hope that's not the case. So with that being said, I know all the eyes are on the offense, but, the defense, I've said it before at times. Matt Patricia at times at the beginning of the games has gone back to that shitty soft zone, Michael, and the Ohio State defensive line is not good enough to be running such a soft defense. The seams are always going to be open in those situations, especially if the quarterback has 6 seconds to sit back there and fucking bake a cake or fucking set up a tent and go camping. You have to go to press man and never leave. You have to go to press man and never leave. To be honest, Michael, I would be running cover one man the entire game. One safety deep, one linebacker spy, press man on every wide receiver. Purdue and, most teams would not be able to counter it. Not many teams in the country. The lack of pressure from the front 3 to 4 is a problem that just is not going to be fixed. Caden Curry, he is not that guy. Bo Atkinson, he is not that guy. Kenyatta Jackson is hit and miss. Arvell Reese can generate pressure, but it's only going to be on third down. That's the only time they're ever really going to bring him. And I feel like he's best as more of a spy, not Alex Stiles, which, by the way, Alex Stiles, they were clamoring for him, when Ryan Brown took off on that run to the outside. Damn, dude, he didn't get over there as fast as I thought he should have. And not to mention, we had 2 spies on this fucking guy. And he still took off on the first drive of the game. I'm like, how the fuck do you let that fucking happen? That should never fucking happen. That's why you kind of have to have Arvell as your spy. Yeah, man, very fucking frustrating, man. Frustrating by the defense. I feel like they should have, really got after Purdue more. I don't think we had a fucking sack the entire game, which is just concerning. You just can't tell me that this lack of pressure, pressure, whatever they're doing, is the right way. It is not. If you cause havoc with 3-4 guys and get after the quarterback, good things are going to fucking happen. You don't give him all day to just sit back there. Ryan Brown is not that good of a fucking runner.
Well, Jay, if you remember at the beginning of the year, I tried to kind of warn you that there was probably going to be a decent amount of zone. I knew that because I knew Matt Patricia in New England. I watched all of the New England Patriot games almost for a several year period. Some of you would ask, why would you get the NFL Sunday package just to watch the New England Patriots? Because they were great. And I wanted to see greatness. And they didn't disappoint me. They won several Super Bowls during this run that I was watching them. This was the second dynasty, essentially, that I watched a lot of the games, even regular season games included. And so, yeah, I knew Patricia liked to run zone. It's clear this year he wants to see if that quarterback is going to be able to put it over one guy and right,
And
right
they
over.
have been, though. They have been.
I know, but he wants to see that because he has a certain safety. He has a certain safety net in that he doesn't feel that he's going to give up the big play early in the game. And then as the goal line starts to become the defense's friend, he'll give some different looks and get sometimes more aggressive. He did that with the Patriots, and that's why they were very good in the red zone. And I figured he was going to have that same probably philosophy here. And then, of course, he does change it up at times. He doesn't just let him drive down to the 25 every time before he starts to stiffen things up. He will make adjustments if they just can't, seem to keep him on the right side of the field. But that's just how he calls it, and so I
just don't see that working in the playoffs.
He is the kind of guy that absolutely will leave stuff on the table. He's the kind of guy that will come up with something new that an offensive coordinator has never seen. He's the kind of guy that will send a blitz in a big game at a big moment that is not, something that they've done a whole lot of. So, I mean, he will do that. He's not a guy who's stuck in a particular pattern, a particular mold, but there is certain things that it seems like clearly from the years I watched him in New England and the watching him here at Ohio State, there's certain things that he does seem to like to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's strange, but I said it last week, but it does feel like, again, the offense could have scored at any time this week. The offense could have scored any time last week against Penn State. I don't know that the defense can always get stops. And I just want to say, like, we have yet to play an offense outside of Illinois, Michael, that really let the ball rip in the air and just throw without any kind of hesitation. And Illinois scored the most points all season against us. So that's where I'm concerned. Throwing at our corners like Igbinosa not getting their head around, or just, throwing deep when there's no pressure, which it's going to happen. Their teams are going to push the ball down the field. So we have yet to really play an offense outside of Illinois is really going to throw it around. I don't even know if Indiana is going to give us the right looks should we get lucky enough to beat Michigan this year.
Look, I don't know if they'll give us the right looks, but I think Indiana is going to give us a looks in the right direction. And so, again, I'll reiterate, that is why another reason why it is so important for Ohio State to beat Michigan, not only for Ryan Day's 4-year streak to be broken and put another win on the board, but also because that gets us to the Big Ten championship. And likely, if we do not win that, we do not get to the Big Ten championship. And if we don't get there, we don't get to play Indiana, which is an offense that this defense badly needs to see.
Yes.
But on the flip side of that, I do think Indiana is a very good team. I do think Indiana could beat most teams in the country on a given day. However, I still, just because of talent, until I see differently, I'm going to put it at about a 60-40 chance, 60% on the SEC team side, that probably Georgia and Alabama would beat Indiana. I'd say about 60%.
You've changed your tone, Michael. You've changed your tone from last week. You said 50-50, and now you're kind of skewing it.
You know what? It could happen to anybody, and it could completely be like an armchair quarterback reaction from me. And if so, that's fine. I hope it is. I hope Indiana is not the 5th or 6th best team in the country. I hope they are the 2nd or 3rd best team in the country. But I'm not convinced of it after what I saw because I watched most of that game. Now let's be honest here. This is something that could happen to almost any team. Have to go to Happy Valley against a guy who is coaching to try and get this job. Now he's probably not going to get it. But if they won out, does he have a chance to get it? Yeah, he's got a chance. So, I mean, this guy's coaching potentially for million contract. They're at home. And this is one of the top 12 or 14 most talented rosters in the country. And so if it comes together on a given day the way it's capable, they could be a formidable opponent, especially in Happy Valley. And so for Indiana to come out there with a win could be more impressive than we're giving them credit for because of what Penn State has become as this year has gone on. But just like a bad NFL team, there's still talent there. And it can still turn on a given week. And you're still talking about one of the top 12, 14 most talented teams in the country. And so, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. But like Slip and Skippy said, based on that performance, they don't look scary. I still do believe they are very good.
Yeah, no, they are still a very good team. That was amazing catch, by the way, by the receiver in the back of the end zone. It's going to be the top play in probably sports for the 2025-2026 calendar year. That was, pretty amazing catch. But I will say this, similar to last year when Indiana played Michigan, is with this game is, I feel like the blueprint has been laid from yesterday or 2 days ago, should I say, and how to beat them. I don't, looking at them, Michael, I agree with what you said. I could see them winning a game in the playoffs, but they would have to have
it depends.
bye. I don't know.
Obviously, it depends on their seed. I mean, if they got a draw similar to Michigan State last year, then of course they could potentially win 2 games.
You mean Penn State?
I'm sorry, yeah, Penn State. They could potentially win 2 games, and I don't think that it's like impossible that they beat a Alabama or a Georgia or a Texas A&M. I don't think it's impossible at all.
Yeah,
but I still am going to give one of those teams the edge. Now, what would be amazing? What would be absolutely, I would love it, is if University of Georgia had to travel to Bloomington, Indiana for a playoff game.
It's not going to happen because Indiana will probably still have a bye.
You think so?
Well, actually, that's a good question, man. We're going to find out on Tuesday. We're going to find out on Tuesday what they did with Indiana in the rankings. I bet you Texas A&M jumps them. And if they lose, let's just say hypothetical, knock on wood, Ohio State and Indiana play in the Big Ten championship game, and Indiana's number 3, Ohio State's number 1. If Ohio State wins that game, that will knock Indiana out of the bye range.
So they'll probably be a 5 or a 6. So they potentially could get a Georgia or an Alabama coming to Bloomington.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to think too much about Indiana and how we match up with them yet. We have much, I wouldn't say bigger fish to fry, but I would say even more important fish to fry.
There's not a lot else to talk about between now and then. I mean, we've got UCLA this week. Is UCLA a trap game, Jay?
No.
Because they're not terrible anymore.
They've been pretty bad the last couple of weeks. They've kind of went back down to earth. They got blown out by Indiana, bad, like really bad. And then they just lost at home to Nebraska.
What was the score of that game?
28-21. They were down by more. I think they kind of fought back.
Okay, and so that's my point. Is Nebraska? You're probably gonna not like this, but Nebraska is a pretty good football team. They're not. I mean, they're not. What I mean by that is they're competitive. If Ohio State plays good, if Georgia plays good, if Indiana plays good, obviously, if Alabama plays good, if Texas A&M plays good, if any of those teams play good, are they going to kill Nebraska like pretty solidly? Yeah, they are. But if you play poorly and have a turnover or 2 or something like that, that's where this Nebraska team is good enough that they absolutely can be in a game. So that's what I mean by they're not a bad football team. So I mean, they played right there with them. They better be ready to play. I don't think it's probably a trap game, but I do think that I would like to see a substantial win. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't you like a 49-7?
Well, considering we're at home, it's at night, I think the team will be motivated. It's all a matter of, do the coaches let the players play? Because they didn't let them play against Purdue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, wouldn't you,
that's really all I can
wouldn't
say.
you say that would be time to make a statement? Like if you can beat them, if you could beat UCLA 56-0, like beat them 56-0.
I don't know that you're making a statement beating UCLA that bad because Indiana did the same exact thing already.
Well, I know, but that's a heck of a lot better than going out there and beating them 35-7.
I agree, but this is Ryan Day in 2025, man. He's Jim Tressel 2.0. I mean, I don't know. I don't, except for the good special teams. We don't have good special teams.
What did Urban do that, like, he wasn't like an offensive genius or anything, and his offense was relatively basic and wasn't good at passing several of the years he was there, but he would still pile up some massive points in some games.
He was really good at running that spread option and piling on teams that really sucked, but yeah, that was really it. I don't know.
That's all Urban did, huh?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, but sometimes it would come back and get them, like Purdue and Iowa. And I don't know, man. Urban had some absolutely clunker offensive games, man. But, to recap the defense, though, I thought it was interesting that Riley Pettijohn actually started the game at linebacker in the 3-linebacker set over Peyton Pierce. I don't know what the reason was behind that, but I can say that Pettijohn has flashed to me more. Pierce is solid, but I don't know that he's an Ohio State starter level linebacker when you look at him. He kind of looks like Tommy Eichenberg out there, which we know how much complaints I had with Tommy Eichenberg. And Michael, the backup defense.
Who did you say looks like Tommy Eichenberg?
Peyton Pierce, the white linebacker
from
Texas. He looks like identical to him.
I do think he's faster than Tommy.
I don't know.
I think he's a bit faster. Give him a chance. I'm not saying that Peyton Pierce is going to be a first-round pick or anything. I think he could be like a 4th to 6th round pick if he develops. But maybe a little bit better than that. Maybe 3rd round, but probably 4th or beyond. But I do think he's a bit quicker than Tommy.
Okay, I need to see him play more. He hasn't flashed to me yet, so again, we'll see him a lot next year.
He's not a big flasher. He's just a solid guy. That's what he is.
I need to see a flash, man. If you don't flash like a Riley Pettijohn hit in the freaking A gap, like leveling a running back and making them fumble, like you just, it's not, you got to do something like that.
Okay, well, I think he could do that. I think he's capable of that.
Yeah, okay. So, and then the backup defense, man, they just look really bad to end the game. And this is why, Michael, you get out to big leads. This is why. So then you can play those guys like most of the 3rd quarter and then all of the 4th quarter to get quality reps, man. That's all. That's all. But, Michael, not just this Purdue game, but there is some big news going on in Big Ten country. And I know you've done some research.
Can I ask you something real quick before we get into that? Just a short rabbit trail.
Okay.
I know I'm much more of an Urban guy than you are, but is Urban?
Oh no, I like Urban.
Okay. Well, is Urban maybe the most beloved, former Ohio State coach that's still living now, because he's directly tied to 2 Ohio State national championships. He didn't win 2 himself, but he did give us Ryan Day, who won 1. And so without Urban, there is no Ryan Day. No, Ryan Day no one's knocking on his door when Urban brought him in 2017. Urban went and found him out of nowhere. And look at this. Now Ryan Day's won a national championship at Ohio State. So would you say that's fair? That Urban's the most beloved?
It probably is fair, but I find it unfair. I mean, I would say it's fair and correct, but I don't think it's fair because I feel like Jim Tressel really did reset the program and get us on this just amazing 21st century that we've had.
Well, there's no doubt about it. You have to have it all. I mean, without Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer is not able to do what he does. Without Urban Meyer,
right,
Ryan Day is not able to do what he does. So, I mean, none is really more important than the other. The program was just at a different point at each point in time. And each one uniquely filled the role, tremendously, really.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, that hiccup year in 2011 with Luke Fickell, but then Urban came and yeah, that was a bad season, man.
Yeah.
But Michael,
okay, back on to the Big
David
Ten.
man. Like, tell me what your thoughts are, man. I haven't done a whole lot of research into this. I have seen, I've seen like Michigan and USC are upset. I feel like Ohio State should have more of a voice on this. Um, it seems like it's mostly bad news from what I've heard. Michael, you tell me, man. You're more of like the expert in this area. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah. So before I get to that, I just want to read this comment. We need to beat UCLA. We haven't beat them since 2000. We lost to them in 2001. I haven't played them since. Wow. Did not know that. Cool.
Yeah, I
fact
remember
there.
that game. I remember we played him in the Rose Bowl.
Okay. Well, then this game means a little something. First win against them since 2001. All right.
Yeah.
The private stake potentially into the Big Ten. So those of you that are not aware, there have been talks of a private equity stake being purchased into the Big Ten Conference. So this would be a first, I believe, for definitely college football. Some years ago, this was floated about the Big 12. It was going to be like a 10 or a 15% stake in the Big 12. I think 15% stake, and they were going to give between $800 million to $1 billion. And so for the Big 12, maybe that made sense at that time. Maybe it's worth them selling that stake to be able to have the cash now to try and compete. And then maybe they can build their brand and build their value because they're taking that cash in hand. They're buying better players. They're upgrading facilities, and they're winning more, getting to more playoffs, et cetera. And they're increasing their brand. This has become like the NFL. And so, venture capitalists are there. They want to invest in things. And, but this, from what I've read, is not really that. This is potentially pension funds, at least one out of the state of California. And so they're looking for ways to increase their return. They'll take some risk. There's some risk with everything, but they want to take, investments that have a chance to do better than normal and not a tremendous amount of risk. And so the Big Ten is a massive brand with massive money coming in. And so the idea is from probably a collection of people, pension funds representing some of it, there'd be about a $2 to a $2.4 billion cash investment into the Big Ten. And that would buy a certain percentage of this new entity called the Big Ten Enterprises. I don't know what the Big Ten Enterprises entails. It's new, so I don't know exactly what type of revenue is going to be coming through the Big Ten Enterprises, but evidently they're anticipating significant revenue because it would be about a $2 to a $2.4 billion investment for a certain percentage of those revenues over the next 20 years. So basically, Jay, the idea is they're going to be getting $2.4 billion today. And they need to be able to use that money and invest that money and build their brand and build their equity and build the university or the athletic department, at least, to a level that it makes sense to give up those future revenues for a big cash injection today. And there's speculation that the reason for the need for this big $2.4 billion cash injection, which Michigan and USC don't want any part of so far. And that's a problem because it could put their membership at stake after 2036. And we do not want Michigan and USC's membership at stake in the Big Ten. No, not over trying to get $2.4 billion now. We need to get them on board with this. And if they're not on board, then I don't know, maybe we need to cool our jets on it. So that's my take on it. It's not inherently good or inherently bad. It's what do they do with the money? Because if they're going to be getting $2.4 billion now, you can be guaranteed that those investors have got some number in mind that they think it's going to yield them over the next 20 years. That's going to be quite a bit higher than that, whether that's $4 billion or $4.5 billion or whatever. And they're going to be getting, their investment back. So the Big Ten is going to be giving up future revenues to take a big cash injection today. And so if they're going to do it, it's going to be up to them to be smart with it and make that investment worthwhile. And really only time will tell on something like that, Jay.
I see. Yeah, that is a lot to digest, Michael. I've done a little bit of research into this. And I can see where USC and Michigan are coming from, man. This is almost like
you got any questions about it? I mean, I work in finance, and my graduate degrees in finance, so this stuff is like really normal to me. But I get it. Most people don't. It's not something they think about too much.
I don't know. It's almost like they're I don't know. It's almost like they're trying to take this cash fund to support like the low hanging fruit in the Big Ten that's just falling off the tree, like teams like Maryland, Rutgers, the shitty programs that are just not doing well, and addressing the financial needs of them. Whereas teams like USC, Michigan, Ohio State, I believe we're all doing fine. I think Ohio State is under the belief that they will get more of a cut of this 2.4 billion.
Ohio State wants this to happen because they want that cash injection, because the athletic department, which lost 25 or $30 million in 2024. Now, a big chunk of that was a one-time expense that's like only happens once every 15 or 20 years. It was a big repair they had to do. So that's why the loss was so big. But nevertheless, they're coming off a $20+ million loss from last year. And now this year they're adding, $22 million that the school was not paying last year. They're adding that to the budget to pay out the players, 16 million of which is going to the Buckeye football team. So I think the Buckeye athletic department, however much they think they're going to get of this, couple of $100 million, or I don't know, 250. I don't know what they think they're going to get, but whatever they think they're going to get of it, they're definitely wanting it, because Ohio State's all for it, from what I understand.
Well, Ohio State better get a big cut of that, but I guess problems arise as Michigan and USC and maybe some others, man. Maybe some others feel this way, but just decided to go with it. But they look at it as like bailing out the underperforming programs, and that's a problem.
Because Jay, do you know why Ohio State liked their interpretation of this new rule, where the schools,
I think they get more control, right?
They get more control, and their idea was, now we get to go back to what we want to do, which is bring everything in house and forget these NIL things, because everything's going to come in house. We don't have to worry about these NILs, and now all the people that were donating to these NILs can just donate directly to the athletic department, and we can just pat our pockets more. But the issue
now, do we trust Ohio State though to actually give that to the athlete?
I know. And the issue came when other schools are still utilizing the NILs, and we have directed funds away from those.
Right.
And so it's been problematic on the recruiting trail for them down the half, but supposedly Ross Bjork was getting things squared away, and there's some evidence that there is a little bit in the coffers around Columbus from some of the signs that they have gotten here recently. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, candidly speaking, I've always thought about donating to some NIL funds for Ohio, donating some funds to Ohio State's NIL. I just don't know where that money is going, man. I don't want it to go to a fucking swimmer, I tell you that. Or a fucking lacrosse player.
I gave $75 to one of the foundations. I think it might have been the foundation or something. It only went to football, basketball, or baseball.
Oh, you can choose?
I'm sorry. It only went to football, basketball, and I think that was it. Just football and basketball. And yeah, you could choose, I believe, where you wanted your donation to go to.
Okay. Well,
and if you didn't designate, then it was going to be like split between however they saw fit between football and basketball.
I see. Well, I'll look into that then maybe later. I don't
know if that's going on anymore. I mean, it's the NIL landscape's been so foggy in Columbus for quite some time now with this new ruling, and Ross Bjork thinking that everything's going to come in house all across the country, and across the country it hasn't all come in house. Many are still utilizing these NIL to booster the offers that they're making these kids.
Yeah. I have seen Slip and Skippy mention the basketball team a few times. I will do more of an in-depth basketball breakdown of Ohio State. I kind of know what they are. I watched them the other day, Michael, on Friday night, I believe. They were playing some shit team. Yeah, they don't look very good, but I can tell you that a lot of the questions we have will be answered when they play at Pitt on November 28th. So
Yeah.
buckle in for that game, everybody. Just buckle in. I don't know that I'll be able to do actually, that's a lie. I may just go live by myself after that game. I may go live that night post game after they play Pitt and do some basketball. Because, Michael, we have so much football to cover right now. We just don't have time to be covering the basketball team. Basketball team really gets kicked off in late January. Michael, initial thoughts on the first college football rankings, though. To recap all of what we just said, I can see both sides. And really, when I say both sides, Ohio State side and USC and Michigan side. Now, this is where I get concerned, Michael, is a lot of Michigan fans are like, we just need to get the fuck out of the Big Ten. And some people are saying they should just go to the SEC, which would be a really bad. Do you think Michigan would ever go to the SEC? I could see USC doing it, but Michigan?
I don't see Michigan doing it. No.
Okay. Well, they're really upset by this, man. And you're locked in for a long time with this if it goes through. So that's the problem there. Michael, initial thoughts of the first college football rankings, sir. Anything stick out to you on the initial rankings, first rankings of the year? Because which I find, by the way, I find them, somebody may mention, why are you watching it? It doesn't matter. It's not the final rankings. Well, no, the first rankings I feel like are the most important because you see what their criteria is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Want to get this comment real quick, Jay.
Okay.
Also, Wisconsin beat Washington with their punter as their
quarterback. I think that's a joke. Their punter actually had a fake punt and it passed for the most yards, I believe.
Well, nevertheless, I'm very disappointed in Washington. I expected more out of them. That was a pathetic loss.
It's so weird in the Big Ten this year that teams are like Jekyll and Hyde, home and away. Washington is one of those teams. Michigan is one of those teams. They just are completely different teams at home versus on the road. I can't quite pinpoint it. Even Ohio State is to a lesser extent too, because it seems like at home we do turn up the engines a little bit and push the pedal to the metal a little bit more. On the road, it's just boring, methodical shit, garbage, depressing bullshit, man. Yep. But we're not really, we haven't really been at risk of losing a game though, but we are guilty of like a similar thing. So I don't know. It's a really odd year in the Big Ten, especially home and away. It's just really odd.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to say? There's a few really good teams, and then there's a lot of teams that are all pretty even and they're beating up on each other. And so we'll see how good all of these teams are moving forward. Jay, want to talk about recruiting as we wrap up this live stream tonight?
Ooh, oh man, you don't want to put me in a bad mood, do you?
Well, I mean, come on. There's some optimism to be had with the recruiting.
We did get one good guy that I like a lot recently. Yeah. We really did.
Yeah.
The Colorado Emmanuel Ruffin, the defensive tackle from the state of Alabama, the big three technique, people in the Southeast that are just they're not grown in the Midwest. Not really. Jameer Perez is one, but like he's one guy out of like every 5 years, whereas the Southeast has like 3 or 4 of these people every year. But yeah, I love the pickup of Emmanuel Ruffin. The offensive line recruiting is still an absolute fucking disaster, a disaster. And then we got some commitment today from a guy from Texas, Legend Bay, and everyone's, he's so fast and he's going to be our punt return, kick return guy and a gadget player and blah, blah, blah. Those guys never fucking succeed here, man. Not of those measurables. I even said it on our board. I'm like, I don't see it. I mean, the last person we've had of that stature was Curtis Samuel. And that was 10 years ago.
Well,
years ago.
This guy's what, 5'10"?
Yeah, 5'10". And I mean, let's just say he's 5'11" for the sake of argument.
Okay. So Is it a long shot? Maybe. Yeah. But I mean, at this point in the cycle, it's fine. Take a long shot. Take that 5th round draft pick that you think Mike could really turn out. Because he's got the speed, and who knows? I mean, if Julian Edelman at 5'10" and a half can be as effective as he was as a slot receiver, I believe a kid with this kind of athleticism could potentially be a really good slot
playing him
receiver.
at running back. That's the problem. They're bringing him in as a running back, and he
Well,
plays
yeah,
quarterback for his high school team.
running
so it's
back or
weird.
slot, and he was told that he could even compete in the quarterback room. That's one reason he's coming to Ohio State is, other schools were not even going to let him compete in the quarterback room. Now, I believe Ryan Day was up front with him that, like, you're probably not going to get very far, but he just likes the idea that he's going to be able to come in and give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm not saying that people of that size and stature don't make it. They absolutely do. That would be disingenuous of me. What I am saying is they don't make it at Ohio State. We just don't seem to know how to use them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe we don't play as fast of a pace, and we play a little too slow and prodding of an offensive type of game. I don't know. But again, he's not my biggest concern, Michael. My biggest concern is offensive line recruiting. It's a disaster, and no one can tell me otherwise.
Well, Jay, I don't know if it's a disaster. It could have been better, but here's the thing. In my mind, if we land the kid from Penn State, who, to me was like a gift, and he ends up going to freaking West Virginia. He was a composite 97. I don't care if he ends up being a guard or a tackle. That doesn't matter to me. He's a composite 97 talent that you'd be adding to the offensive line. To me, if we would have gotten him, or even another guy that was, 91 to 93, somewhere in that range, 94, this would have been a really good offensive line haul. But as it was a very average offensive line haul. I won't call it terrible because, we do have a composite 97 and a half and a composite 94. And then we've got a couple of, low guys at the bottom, an 87, an 86, and an 85. I mean, those are bad. The chances of the 86, the 85, and the 87 playing at Ohio State are not high. One of them is Matt Wilhelm's son. And hey, I hope he's a huge success story and he becomes an All-American and gets a tree in Buckeye Grove as an 86. That would be, becomes a stud guard. That'd be amazing. Is that going to happen? Probably not. The odds are highly slanted against that happening with any of these guys. So, just kind of going by the odds and the percentages, we added 2 guys out of this class that potentially could be solid to very good Ohio State offensive linemen, and 3 guys that are a big, you're going to hit on one now and then. And so I think we're missing one guy, but other than that, I don't think it was, I think it was mediocre. I don't think it was awful.
Michael, I feel like you're not seeing the forest through the trees here. Do you see where each one of these offensive linemen come from?
Well, Jay, but here's the thing. Ohio offensive line has got a lot of prospects in the next 3 or 4 years. So we're going to start seeing a lot of Ohio offensive linemen, and they're going to have guys that are rated in the 90s. And so if you can get guys out of Ohio that are rated in the 90s, that's all the better.
Well, that's my thing is, it's like, yeah, okay, by the letter of the law, I guess the offensive line class is fine, but Tyler Bowen is not showing me that he is a good salesman. And it takes no skill or effort to bring 5 Ohio kids to Ohio State within the state that are offensive linemen. I feel like offensive line within the state is the easiest position to recruit at Ohio State. I don't know what it is. They've said like the big defensive linemen and offensive linemen are all mama's boys. And I think that's across the country. I don't know what it is, but it just is. And with that being said, he did not go outside of the geographic footprint of Ohio to land any. I'm not even asking for a 5-star, Michael, but where are the composite top 100 players? He's not getting them. Hell, he didn't even really come, like he kind of came close with this guy that's going to end up at West Virginia, but If Penn State is not having the turmoil they do, he's not even getting this opportunity. So again, it's a disappointment. And I don't see anyone on the 27 class either, because he's once again only staying in the Ohio footprint. And I'm looking at the Ohio footprint right now, Michael, for next class. They have one guy that's 178 in the composite. And then they have another guy. It's like 217, and that's fine. But where are the top 100 composite players? You need them. You need at least a 5-star as well, at least every other class. And we haven't gotten one in a while.
Well, I'm going to make a prediction, Jay. I think that the top 100 guys in the offensive line are coming in Ohio. I think they're going to come a little later because they always get a little less attention up here. But, I do think there are some of those guys in the 27, 28, and probably even the 29 class, because there's a lot of talent across the state of Ohio with offensive line over the next few years in the high school ranks. And so there's going to be – that's a good thing. And that's, great. Like, that's what we say about Georgia. Well, they've got all this talent right there, so it's easy for them to get. Well, good. If we can have offensive line talent and whatever else, Ohio's been producing very good defensive backs here recently. If we can keep, producing that and offensive line, then we don't have to go outside of the state for those two things. So that's great. But I do agree that he is short. You've got to be able to go out and get somebody, because sometimes you can't fill it all from Ohio. You came close this time, but you were short 1 4-star. And so go out and get a 91 to a 93, somewhere in there from out of state and bring them in. And then you've got a good class. And so that's what I expect of him moving forward. This is his first class. And I know he got started a little bit late. So I'm at least going to give him to his second class and see if he can kind of, get that extra guy. I don't care if the guy is from Ohio. If he can get 3 4-stars out of Ohio, great. But I don't know that there's going to be that many. So he's probably going to have to go out of state to get at least one of these guys. And that's what I want to see him do.
You have a lot of optimism there, and you're really holding Ohio to a high standard here, because like if they don't produce these players, then he's shit out of luck. So I just don't know, man. That is a razor thin margin for error to put this all on Ohio kids. Because, Michael, I know you're trying to say Ohio's making a comeback, man, but I'm looking at the 247 composite in the 2027 class. Do you know how many composite top 100 players are in the state of Ohio in the 2027 class?
What?
1.
Look, I get it. Right now, the 2028 class has already got 2. So,
that's really early, though. That's really early.
Exactly. And so there's already 2 in that class. And I mean, our guys always typically rise a little bit late. It's just the way it is. We start off well behind the kids out of Florida and Texas and California and Georgia. And, a lot of these kids up here are not necessarily better. I mean, was Arvell Reese? I mean, you put Arvell Reese with that freakish athletic ability out of Florida, out of one of those big schools.
There are some absolute diamonds in the rough.
He's going to be a 99, but because he was out of Cleveland and he got injured there at the, towards the end of high school, he's a 92. And so, it happens to Ohio guys all the time. And so, I know that I do believe the talent is going up in the state, and I think you're going to see more top 100 type guys in years to come.
Well, I have to push back again, Michael, because me and you are definitely on opposite sides of the fence here, because I know you love Ohio football. I love Ohio football. It is where I'm from, and I grew up with it, and I believe Ohio should be the best. But the fact of the matter is it's not. And I know you're trying to say, like, you're pointing out some individual players. Yeah, that's great. But if you want to really look at it, look at what our teams are doing against all those out-of-state teams, and they're not doing very well. A lot of times they're getting blown out. And what's really concerning, Michael, is Massillon is unfortunately one of the top 5 teams in our state. They got blown out by Raven Gap, fucking Georgia. And what does that team do? Everyone thought that they were some powerhouse. They got absolutely massacred this year by Providence Day, which is right down the fucking road from me. I actually used to live right next to them. Now they're about 25 minutes down the road, but they got absolutely boat raced by Providence Day. And that is a North Carolina team, Michael. That just shows you how far and how far Ohio has fallen. I understand, yeah, we can get some like individual players here and there that are diamonds in the rough, but collectively as a whole, the talent is just not there. And you can say all day long that our players maybe develop longer, and that still may be true, but they're not performing either when the lights are brightest on Friday Night Lights. They're losing. They're losing to teams from Illinois and Georgia and North Carolina. And, I think right down the road at Rock Hill Northwestern is better than any team in Ohio, man. I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year too. It's just, that's sad, and it's upsetting, and it's terrible, but it is. And I don't know. That's why I get really concerned when you get these commitments from Ohio, and I'm like, well, who is he really playing against? And it's,
well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing, Jay. I went back to the 2025 class. There are 8 kids from Ohio out of that class of 26. As long as the state of Ohio is producing 5 to 9 players a year that can go play at Ohio State and are of that level, I don't really care if they're winning against other states or any of that other stuff. Because, for Ohio State to be great, we don't need, Moeller to be the national champion again. We need enough players coming out of Ohio that we can get, a foundation of a roster, 6 to maybe 10 on a high end some years, kids coming out of the state, and then go get the other kids out of state. And when there's the Jack Sawyers, who's a 5-star in the state, that's a huge plus. When there's offensive linemen that are, composite 97s and 94s, that's a big plus. And so, it's to me, that's the way I look at it. And I think that Ohio high school football is trending in the direction to be able to continue to do that.
Well, let's just leave it at that, man. I hope you're right. I disagree, and I don't think it is, but I feel like I've said my piece. But I don't have anything else. We're over an hour, Michael. Yeah, I think everyone is I don't have much else.
All right. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back next week, and see you then.
Thank you, everybody.